Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Crooked Pine. Today I've been working on plowing. Been plowing with the new Holland. And what I did to begin with is put poison on this grass over here. The vast majority of this, especially in these thick spots, is all Kogon. And Kogon's an invasive species that came from China way back in the 1900s. So what I did was I poisoned all this with some 53% glyphosate, trying to kill it at the top. And then the second part of the killing goes with the plowing. What I've been doing when it comes to the plowing is using an old plow that was given to me by an older gentleman. This is a Ford plow. It's a 2-bottom 14-inch, and it works pretty good. The shoes on it are still good. I did some general maintenance on it to get it started. I'm just trying to break this up, and once it gets broken up, I want to come back in here with a disc and then disc all of this again to kind of flatten it out. It's turning it over pretty good. The furrow is pretty good. The row, I mean, the biggest problem that I have out here, stumps, wood, because all of this used to be timberland. So all of this has sticks and such like that laying there. That won't stop the plow, but some of the stumps that are out here will. And some of the larger pieces of wood that are on the ground will also stop it, or it won't stop it, it'll trip it. It trips the plow. When it trips the plow, that keeps it from getting tore all to pieces or stopping the tractor. So I'll just back up and hook it back up. So somewhere along this line, you'll see the plow get tripped. And once we go to plowing again, and what we're trying to do is kill this Kogon. So if you look at some of this Kogon, and I hated to do this because we still had some good grass out here, but you look at this Kogon, I don't know how well you see this, but these right here are tubers that goes along with this Kogon. All of this is Kogon, and these tubers make more Kogon. It's ridiculous. See how that stuff spreads out on the root system? You leave one or two of these alive, it just kills it. So there's a couple of ways that people have talked about killing it. Some people say that you can over fertilize it and it'll kill it. Some people say that you can poison it, but you got to keep poisoning it. And then probably the most prevalent way is to turn it over and let the roots get exposed to the air and kill it that way. So I'm going to do a combination of the two. I've already poisoned it, and as you can see, there's a veritable difference between the green that's on the other side of the brown, because all of that got poisoned as well. So I'm going to go with poisoning, which I've already done, and I let it set 4 or 5 days. And since it's still hot, or to some degree hot, and the sun's still out, that poison works pretty good. So I've poisoned it already. Now I'm going to turn it under, and the idea behind turning it under is to expose the roots, and then in theory I'm going to kill the majority of it. Now Kogon is Kogon and there is no way you're ever going to kill it all. And then once the springtime starts again and all the Kogon that's all around me starts to seed, when it goes to seed, it'll spread it again. So the only hope that you have really is to try to have a primary grass that you keep. Hey Scout, what are you doing? Is to have a primary grass to try to kind of chokes it out, or kind of keeps it at bay, and then spot sprayed it with some herbicide after that. But 53% glyphosate seems to do pretty good. So let's get on this tractor and see how this works. Hot up in here. eradicate the Kogon grass because nothing really eats it. Cattle will eat it when it's real young, but after it gets a little older, they won't touch it. It has no real purpose other than the fact that it does a great job at keeping erosion down during rainstorms and that kind of thing. So I figured the best way to go about it is just to get rid of it so that we get something in here that the cows can eat. Oops, that looks like blue clay. Get something in here that the cows can eat, so you know it's not a waste of ground. That's what I'm looking for. See if we can't line up to this furrow. See how bad it. See how big a deal it is to with these. See how big a deal it is with this plow and these stumps. Keep it from tripping. Some spots over here are plow chews down a little bit better, and other ones are so hard that it doesn't go down as deep. Some of it's like sitting on a pan, which makes it even more difficult because the soil is inconsistent. Towards the bottom it digs a little deeper, toward the top of the hill it doesn't. And that makes sense because of course water always goes to the lowest point. So I'm just kind of easing along here in third medium gear on the New Holland, trying to cut this Kogon on and roll it over. Maybe it'll kill it, or it'll kill most of it. When I get a chance, I'm going to come back in here with a disc. And I say get a chance. When this sits about a week, and I'm comfortable that it's killed some of them roots, then I'm going to come back in here with a disc. I'm going to disc all this up, and then I'm going to replant it. But the second reason that I'm trying to disc all this up, or till it all up, plow it all up, I'll get the right terminology in a minute, plow it all under, two reasons. One is the Kogon, because it's an invasive species and it just takes over everything, and it's of no intrinsic value here at the Crooked Pine. And then the second reason, all of this area here was full of trees, so there's still stumps and things that are here, and the ground is uneven. So I'm thinking, at least my hope is that I can turn this under, and once it's turned under, then I can come back in here with the disc and disc it enough times to where it'll fill in all these holes. Now I was turning dirt over here, plowing on the other side. There was, look, there it tripped. If I can back it up and lock it back into place, it locked. So I was turning dirt over here on the other side of the property, and there was huge stump holes, which, I mean, I knew there were stumps there, and I knew it'd been that way a while, but I didn't realize that the holes were almost perfectly cylindrical where the stump had rotted out. And even after, there it goes again. And even after that, after the several times that I chisel plowed it, none of those holes got filled in any way. So this whole concept right here, I think, is going to be the best option for cleaning up a lot of this, this uneven ground, the holes that are in the ground, at least to some degree. My guess is it ain't gonna never be perfect, but to some degree it ought to be. So I'm gonna get some footage of this without talking, and then if anybody's interested in watching this video, maybe they'll see more work instead of a bunch of talk. This lift-o-matic switch that's on this New Holland, this is great. You just push a button, it drops. You don't have to move. You don't have to move the 3-point lever. It's stuck in one position. Now this one over here is hard. See? So this is one of the problems that I've had with this entire setup is the plow share at the bottom. Actually, what it's doing is it's catching on the back plow share. So the front tip of the front plow is hooking on the back portion of the rear plow share. And so I had to come down here, and we got me a railroad bar that I can break it loose, so it goes back into position. In that instance right there, you can't back up because all it's doing is pushing it into the rear plow is only pushing into the front plow. I'm gonna get the words out here in a second. So I can easily see it and see how it's done. I guess I'm not as good at talking about it, but that's okay. So if you notice that spot back up there, it was very hard. I mean, it's like this it's a solid pan clay, and I think there's some sticks and wood and stumps and things buried at that location. So what it's doing is just tripping the plow. So I'll come down here and see if I can break this portion of the plow loose, and then I'm gonna get back to trying to level this out, and I'll go probably till this camera finally runs out of battery power, which seems to be much faster of late than in the past, only because I haven't used it a lot, and because of that the battery's starting to wear. But I'm gonna start charging it and see if I can't use it a little bit better. Hold on one second, let's see if we can't get this plow share unstuck, because right now it's very stuck. System that I just held up, that's that Kogon, and those tubers, they're almost like flowers with bulbs. So you can cut a flower with a bulb flower, like tulips or orange torch ginger or amarillo or whatever. You can cut them in half. Or I guess potatoes. Potatoes the same way. You can cut portions of that off and they'll keep growing. They'll come back no matter what. So the Kogon is exactly the same. And Kogon just destroys the resources you got. So whatever you put on there, let's just say you fertilize it for whatever reason. You're fertilizing a grass that, quite frankly, nothing uses, nothing eats. Now it looks fantastic. When you cut it down and it gets thick, it looks great. Problem is, when you're feeding cattle or anything else that might need to eat grass, especially like me, I'm trying to make sure it's just grass-fed cattle. I'm not trying to feed anything, feed any other type of feeds or have any other inputs. So to me, you're wasting space, because anytime you got something eating your resources, all you're doing is you're losing out on valuable space to feed cattle or in our case a damn donkey. I should have complained about that donkey. I like that donkey. And then we're talking about getting other cattle, and if you got a bunch of cattle, you need a bunch of grass. And a bunch of grass does not mean Kogon. What it means is you got to have something they can eat. Now, their preference is crabgrass here. They will eat crabgrass, and they've gotten quite fat off of crabgrass of late. And I'm happy about that. I mean, I enjoy the idea that crabgrass is cheap, and they love it. Now, the South Pole cattle that we have, they're foragers, so they'll eat a lot of things that some cattle won't eat, and they'll even eat some of the cobra. But like I say, they're only going to do it when it's real young. When it gets old and it starts getting it gets a wide blade at the top. Actually, some people say it'll cut their tongue or their lips because it's so sharp. Now, I've never witnessed that, so I don't know. All I'm telling you is it grows up quite significantly. I'll tell you something else that Kogon can't take. Kogon cannot take shade either. So if you got a place where it's real shady, Kogon can't make it. It's got to have full sun. And I think that, you know, when you take it, but in a pasture you can't take away full sun because then you're going to risk your eyes. And what bothers me about this whole thing of killing this ground, or putting herbicide on this ground and turning it under. See, this is the west side. This is the west side, and the west side, it seems like it's a lot better. It got better to cut through. When I get to the east side over here, it gets to be the pain. Anyway, where was I? Like, what's killing me about having to actually put herbicide on this acreage, I think there's about 7 acres here. And what kills me about it is it had some Bahia on here. Now, you don't know anything about Bahia, and I think we had Pensacola Bahia is what I put down. That stuff is $255 a 50-pound bag. And, you know, $255. Now the benefit behind Bahia is it'll get thick and it's drought tolerant and it seeds 3 or 4 times a year, right? So it'll seed pretty regularly. Let's see how hard this is now. Bahia will seed pretty regularly, but and that's the part that I really hated to do, because I bought the $255 worth of Bahia and it was coming up and it was looking good, but the Kogon is taking over, and if you don't get it to where you can manage it, because I'm using the term manage loosely, if you don't get it to where you can manage it, it will take over, and when it takes over, then what are you doing? Now, all you're doing is you're wasting money cutting grass that, quite frankly, is of no intrinsic value. Now, if I was trying to keep dirt from moving, you know, save on erosion, shoot, it would work great that way, but uh-oh, there it goes again. Let's see if it pops. Oh, it locked in good. So, the other thing about Kogon that maybe some people don't get or they're not aware of is the fact that when Kogon burns, it burns between 800 and 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And it just destroys the area where native grasses come in. So, in this pasture, the difference in colors, you'll see like a light green, and then you'll see the dark brown. The dark brown is the crabgrass that's growing here. Now, the light green is all the Kogon. If you look at that Kogon, it comes off almost in sod-like patches because the root system is so tight. And I got to be honest with you, it really you can really feel it pulling on this tractor. But Kogon will burn 800 degrees Fahrenheit, and it chokes out all over the grasses. Now, again, going back to my original statement, why would you? There it goes again. All these roots are in. Roots or sticks or stumps. No. Why would you maintain a grass? Now, I get it if you're going to maintain a grass just because you're going to cut the grass on a regular basis. You know, you want something to be thick. It'll be thick. But the other thing, I don't think it's useful. It has any use for as being in your yard, because when it's in your yard and you use lawnmower lawnmower blades on the grass, on the Kogon, you're just gonna run through lawnmower blades because that stuff is thick. Even if you keep it down low, because it's thick and it's a thicker grass, it's a fatter grass. I shouldn't say, maybe it's not a fatter grass, it's a wider grass. It's hard on lawnmower blades. Now, we come out here and we cut the fence lines. And the main reason we cut the fence lines is so we can check the fence, right? So, and I don't want a bunch of crap growing in the fence, because when crap grows in the fence, ultimately, to me, it looks bad. Now, I know a lot of fences around here have stuff growing up in them, and, you know, that's okay, but I think more or less when you got a bunch of grass and things growing up on around, in our case, T-posts and wire, metal wire, what's going to happen is it's going to rot away faster. And then when it does, then of course you're going back and replacing the wire regularly, and then it might be that you're replacing a post. I gotta be honest with you. If I can avoid doing anything that I don't have to do, if I can avoid doing anything I don't have to do, I won't do it, because there's no point in it. Now, this whole process that I'm doing here by the plowing, I didn't want to do this. It took me months to come to the conclusion I needed to do this, and what brought me to the conclusion is during the seeding time, during the Kogon seeding time, which was early March and April, this place looked like a snowstorm, because the seed heads, there's thousands of little seed heads on the top of this thing that looks like a cotton ball, and it was just, there was so many cotton balls, you know, it was ridiculous. So it took me a while to come to the realization that I really needed to do something about this. And this area over here that I'm getting into is on the west side again, and look how well it cuts. It cuts much better than the other side. Now, that's not saying it's not going to hit something, but the vast majority, well, I say the vast majority, a lot of it, whoop, there it goes, trips again. A lot of this over here is Maheo, and I hate it. Oh man, I still don't like it. I don't even like talking about it, to be honest with you, because, you know, $255. Now, that's for the bag of the Maheo. Now, you're not even talking about the fuel. You're not talking about the wear on the tractor. You're not talking about the brush cutting that's going on over here to build up the soil, that kind of thing. You're not talking about any of that. All you're talking about is just the bag. Just the bag of Maheo. Now, this is getting down into the orange dirt. The clay, that's great. The more I can turn this over, the better. Even though it bothers me. But it has to be done, I think. And again, the second reason is because you ride out this pasture and it will beat you to death. It's not rolling hills, it's rolling pain. Because there's so many potholes in here, there's so many stump holes, there's so much uneven terrain. It's horrible. Get over here on this east side and see how well that does. Wow, looks like it's doing all right. Watching this video sees me plowing and you see that I'm doing something wrong, by all means let me know. But realistically, I just need this stuff turned over till I hit it with the disc. And I'm not trying to make perfect roads. I'm trying to kill Kogon. But I take all constructive criticism. Now, if somebody sends me a message that says I don't know anything about plowing, well, okay. You need to be specific and help me out. Maybe I'll want to do it more in the future. But this plow, as I said it earlier, I got it from an older gentleman for free. And the mere fact that it was that the plow shears was not torn up really made me happy. And if it, you know, if I get this done and I don't use this plow again, that's fine, as long as it meets its intended purpose this time. So there it goes again. Now I think some of that tripping earlier was from being out of adjustment. I've measured it, I've done the measurements, make sure it's the right distance from the tire, and tried to line it up with the back of the tractor and blah blah blah, all that nonsense, and raised and lowered it and did this, that, and the other, and you know, lubed up the trip mechanism on both the plows. And I gotta be honest with you, I think it's rolling pretty good, but again, because the ground is so uneven, the front of the whole tractor, and you can't tell, it's just moving back and forth and up and down and all this other stuff. No, it's not level in any way, form, or fashion. So just the mere fact of what it's doing right now and the way it's cutting, again, I'm hoping that, see how much shorter it is. And I'm hoping I get this level, because you can come out here with it. So I know cows that are all-terrain animals, right? But my concern is if I don't fix a hole or something and they break a leg or some other nonsense that I could have avoided, that's really going to upset me. And it's cost a lot of money. So if you don't know, cows right now are very expensive. We went to a field day a few weeks ago in Arkansas, and it was for South Pole cattle owners. And I got to be honest with you, man, I was surprised by the prices. I knew they would be expensive, but they had 40 lots, and on those 40 lots, the first lot that came up was a pregnant cow that had a calf. So essentially, you're buying 3 cows, right? If the cow goes all the way to term, and then has the calf, and it's healthy, you got 3 cows. And then you're lucky it'll be a heifer, but you don't know that. Anyway, so that lot was one of the first lots. And the auction went all the way to $18,500. Now, that took me out of the bid. That took me out of it because, you know, I wasn't in a position to buy anything. I didn't have a trailer, which, by the way, I finally got one. I didn't have a trailer, none of that nonsense. And I didn't want to pay somebody, because we were just going over there to see what we could learn. My wife and I, Stacy, we would see what we could learn, you know, and become, you know, better. We got some good information out of it, but for the most part, we got very dismayed by the price of cows, so to speak. Anyway, at the end of the day, it wound up being $292,000 went through the auction. Video is getting kind of long, so I'm just gonna close it out by kind of giving a general size of the pasture itself. Make one lap around it, cut in the last few passes, and then I'm gonna kind of close it and finish the process. The roads don't look too bad. I mean, considering the fact that it's uneven, you can still see the uneven spots. Probably not on the GoPro, but you can still see the uneven spots. There's some lower than others, and with any luck, that disc is going to kind of blend those in. And I don't need it to be perfect, because as pastures get older, they change anyway with soil settling and that kind of thing. So all I really needed to do is kind of get better than it was. And you know, as time goes by, it'll get better over time. If I need to do it again, I'll do it again. I mean, I think I'll get a bigger kind of plow though. Freaking 2-bottom is great. Wow. No, I'm cheap. I'm not going to do that. But the roads don't look too bad. You can see the clay that came up there. It got deep into the clay. And the other thing I thought was very, very interesting was, so the middle part where I worked on the plowing yesterday, it looks looks like the grass has actually started to, the Kogon has actually started to die. So, with any luck, it'll be much faster than I thought, and I can get right on the disking so I can get this planted and make it a winter pasture, you know, sooner than I thought, sooner than I was thinking. But I think it, like I say, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. The only thing I'm trying to do is kind of trying to level it out, and mostly I'm trying to kill this Kogon, or control this Kogon. I gotta stop using the word kill it, because there's no instance where that Kogon is going to be just go away. I'd have to poison freaking 100 acres around me, and I don't own any of that land. And even when you do that, you're not going to be able to poison by the road. And so when it starts to seed, it goes to seed head and make those cotton-looking tops, then all it's going to do is continue to grow and grow, reseed and continue to grow. And it's just a never-ending process. I mean, considering the fact that this stuff has been here since the 1900s. I think it was 1918 or 1920 when it came into Mobile Bay. The grass came from China, and it was being used as a packing material to, you know, make sure that things didn't get broken. You know, where you, instead of using them plastic peanuts or foam peanuts or plastic that we use now, bubble wrap, they use the grass. And then of course the seeds came with it. When the seeds come with it, well, you get some unwanted responses. Your reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Well, I've been kind of getting spoiled here. The last few passes, I haven't. The plow hasn't trimmed. Anyway, I'm gonna go along this one side, filming that. This is showing from the south side. This is the lowest point. The pond is over here on this to my left. And you can see the rows that's been plowed. And again, I think this is 7 acres. I don't know. This is one of the bigger spots. I didn't go all the way down because on the other side over there, there's still a lot of crabgrass. And I'm gonna turn the cows loose on that over there probably tomorrow, maybe. And I want them to eat that down. And when it's eaten down, we'll go from there. And then see what else we need to do over there. But like I say, I'm trying to rent the no-till grain drill and plant the winter pasture. So that's knocked out somewhere around when it begins to be cold. There should be some grass here for the cows to eat. Anyway, thanks for watching. Try to make more content in the future and try to be more proactive. Like I say, it's just about time for the most part for me. Until I get retired, that's just kind of the way it is. I'm retired from my current job and then go into my farming job. Anyway, have a great day. Be blessed, and like, subscribe, so we can keep the content rolling. Thanks.